Okay, so the first step of outfitting your kayak, you need to have a play around with your foot pedals, and you'd want to try and bring them as close as you can so that you can engage your knee or thigh in your little rest here. You should kind of be aiming to have the ball of your foot pressing against the pedal. Depending on your foot size and how close you bring them, that might change. The good thing about having the ball of your foot is it allows you to move your leg down and back up the boat without any effort. You should try to be making sure that you have got engagement of that knee or thigh without much effort, and there should be a little bit of room that you should be able to tighten that up even more than it currently is at that set position. So step 2, you want to think about your hips and whether they're touching either side of your seat at the same time. So the ideal position is that while you're sat in your boat, both hips are touching either side of your seat, and whenever you kind of edge from side to side, that boat's moving with you and you're not losing contact with that other hip. So to get more snug and more fitting in that boat, you can just add a few sheets of foam to either side, and just keep adding more and more foam so you're in a really nice snug fit where that boat just easily moves from side to side and you can feel both sides the whole time. The way we want to think about our boat outfitting is that more points of contact equals more control over our boat. So we want to be nice and connected to that whole boat so we have the most control as possible. Step 3, we want to think about how we're going to put the foam in our boat. To start off with, I recommend just using a bit of gaffer tape. That makes it nice and easy to change the amount of foam in your boat with little to no effort. And that means you can actually get on the water and take bits of foam in and out during a paddling session. Once you kind of got a good position, you can then think about gluing your padding in. I sometimes find keeping the tape on there just stops from accidentally rolling it along, because even with strong glue, with it getting wet and rubbed against all the time, it does kind of come unstuck quite easily. Okay, so step 4 of outfitting your boat. Let's think about some extra bits of foam we could put in. So number 1, I like to put a bit underneath my knees. I actually have a thicker layer on the outside and then a thinner layer underneath. This just helps me from stopping my knees coming into the middle unwantedly, and also just adds a bit of comfort, a bit more grip than the basic carbon fibre does, and it can also help bring the height of the cockpit down so it's easier to grip with your knees. Next thing to think about is a bit of foam at the front of our seat. This can just help us to stop rocking forward and backwards unwantedly, and also helps prop up our bottom of our leg to get into that knee rest better. And finally, a bit of foam on the back, and this is really just for comfort, to stop yourself from shredding your lower back when you're leaning back in your boat for gates or turns. Okay, so some final thoughts is to actually go out in a session with some foam and play around with where you have the foam in your boat and see if it makes a difference. If you haven't changed your outfitting in a while, now's the time to do so. You can definitely play around in a session where you have your foot pedals a lot closer and just see how that works. It's especially going to notice a difference when you're on the move in water. You should hopefully notice it a lot more in your hip control, your edge control. And then the other thing I would say to think about is that making sure your outfitting is personal to you, and that each of you is going to need bits of foam in different places because we're all different shapes and sizes. So just don't put the same as somebody else because they've got it in there.